There we go. Welcome to our week 5 of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And we are looking at the law of addition. I was looking at my workbook this morning and I'm like, 5 laws took that much of the book? Like, the next ones are probably going to be really skinny because if we're at a 5th, I mean, I guess maybe, but it just surprised me at how we've covered a lot of ground, is what I'm saying. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. So how did everybody do with their navigating over the past week? Anybody have a story to share?
It definitely has been, I don't even want to say it in the back of my mind, but it's definitely, personal growth is awesome. Like, I'm just a geek. I just love what it does to change just even a slight focus in your mind, where it just seems to be a common thread for me through the week. It's like, now I'm looking at navigation and, oh, that's a navigation problem. And that's a thing. Like, I think I talked about it so much in the Team Awesome Jewel chat that I have like 4 or 5 of the ladies. They're like, I've got to go back and read that book. I've got to. So what about the rest of you guys? How did we navigate? It was like the first full week of school for some of us. Like, how was navigation for that? Don't all talk at once. It's totally fine.
I was remembering the community and the equipment piece of navigation. So just because you think everybody's got the big plan doesn't mean that everybody's got the little, you're in charge of this equipment and we need this equipment. And this now changed order and we've shifted this from over here back here. And we've moved this from over here over there. And the communicating all of that shifting navigation, because it doesn't actually talk about how much he would have had to do with all of that during the trip, but starting at the beginning and committing after you know if you've got the resources, the people, the buy-in. Don't commit before you've got that. And then once you're on the journey, you don't just stop navigating. You keep adjusting the course as you go.
Yeah, definitely is a key point. It brings me to a story that we've had this week where you thought you had a plan for the week. You thought you were navigating through the plan well. And many of you here are probably not aware, but we've got 5 houses that we manage and keep track of, and for ourselves, for staff, for all the things. Maybe it's 6. Anyway, of that, 2 houses had sewer issues this week, like serious sewer issues where it didn't work and had to be pumped out, hauled out, parts replaced. On one of them, we've got a sideline, kind of like a temporary fix until we can jackhammer a floor out. So if you think navigating is all about a plan and you follow the plan, that's only the first piece. We need all the other steps of resilience and adaptation, like Amy said, communication, and all of those things to. So yeah, it's not a 1-week program. It's really a long process.
So where were you at in the expecting problems before that arose? Because I'm looking at the whole example of his acronym, and E is expecting problems. I don't think I would have expected that one.
No, that was like a blindside one, totally.
Gross
one. You don't have this idea that, things will go wrong because they will, and houses need maintenance because they do. Yeah, that wasn't on the plan at all.
Oh.
Yeah.
So then you need to always point to success. So you need to be giving yourself successful updates. So this is what went well, and this is what we're doing going forward. And what went well is today it hasn't flooded again. And man,
Right.
we can get mileage out of this. Example.
That's That's exactly right. It's one of those that applies to us all when the removal program from the house waste is not working.
Mhm. Yeah, you know what? And that's really funny because we actually replaced a toilet on Nolan's birthday. And it was one of those things that had just been progressively costing us more money because we'd get our water bill and we're like, whoa, what just happened here? We could have bought a toilet how many times over in the last couple of months, right? So finally replaced it. And we're at the store looking at toilets and he's like, well, why do they have to cost so much? And I said, well, it's kind of necessary. You know, like you use it every day. And if it doesn't work, you notice, like, you want a good one. You want one that's going to flush well. You are going to want one that you don't even think about, right? Like,
yeah. And I might say the same about our health and happiness program. We want a program that we don't even really think about, that we just keep on moving things through and feeling good about it.
Yeah, that's totally true. That's totally true. Completely.
Okay. So moving on from my messy example to the law of addition.
I thought it was very poignant. Yeah, we all got it.
Yeah, got it.
All got it. Yep.
Oh.
The law of addition. Leaders
How
add
many of you-
value by serving others.
How many of you had a chance to review this prior to this morning? Anybody?
Me.
Okay, we can share stuff then and you won't know because it's going to be new. That's good. So what he asked is, what can I do today to serve others? How can I add value to you today? So if I said that to you that are on the screen right here this morning, who committed time, I'm really curious to know what your response might be. So I'm asking you, how can I add value to you today?
Well, the perspective you just shared really, puts everything else in line, right? Like my week was not half as mucky as yours was. And so I'm thankful and moving forward. And so that is actually a lot of value. You sharing your experiences and how you walked through it and the positivity in your voice. You're not even twitching. I'm really impressed. But it's true, right? How we share our experiences with others and we share our navigation with other people really does add a lot of value.
I think just showing up this morning, sharing is you're adding value to us. You're taking time away, and we're here to learn from you and grow together. So I think that adds value to all of us by you just being a good leader and showing up for us.
And I would say likewise, Stacy, your showing up makes it worthwhile. Totally.
I'll give a little disclaimer. I have not read an ounce of the book. I don't have the book. I've been listening to the Zoom calls, but I figure it's time to order the book and jump on here. So,
and that's totally okay. You are welcome at whatever stage you are at. And if you're curious to listen a little bit more, there is a link in one of the posts about the 21 laws in the Leader Lounge that has the whole audio of the book. So it's actually on a video, but you can turn it on while you do your dishes and listen to the audio.
Yeah.
It's YouTube.
Awesome.
I was just thinking that adding value by sharing your stories and experience, which we all do when we post on social media. Some of us. Reminder to self, do it a little more.
Yeah, I didn't post about that. Good point. Reminder.
I think it gives an option or a way to compare ourselves to everybody. Like, oh, me too. Like, I'm not the only one, right? it makes us feel like a little bit more that we're not all here by ourselves and doing the same thing.
For sure.
And then we can also learn from one another.
Yeah, that whole showing up for the woman on your left. Thanks. Sorry,
And
Brenna.
really bringing your skills, whatever they are, from diverse backgrounds to share them with the team. He talks about, the best place isn't always the top position or the most prominent or powerful, but it's the place where anyone can serve the best and add the most to others. And we all come from different backgrounds and have different skills that we can be contributing to each other.
For sure. Awesome. Awesome. Sharon, you had your hand up too.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say that I think when we're sharing stuff like that, it's the vulnerability, right? Because pain is a common human experience. It's not joy that binds us together, it's pain, right? So to go and share the less than stellar stuff, the crappy situations, no pun intended, right? Or I don't know, just the general experiences of human pain, right? And to navigate through that publicly adds, like speaking from experience here, that adds so much value to people. Like, yeah. Just a thought.
No, I think you're bang on, Sharon. And we saw that walk out in your journey. Totally.
Yeah, like I think it's nice to do intentional things like post recipes or like cleaning hacks or whatever. That's good too, right? But I think when it comes down to like the real nitty gritty, it's like doing the hard thing, right? And being vulnerable and sharing that pain, because it is the common thing that is going to bind all humans together, right? So, and I think that adds a lot of value. So, yeah,
Sure.
just a thought.
Yeah.
Yep. Cody?
Cody.
Yeah, and things like this shares other perspectives about the same sorts of things. Like I may think of something one way and not have thought of different options or different ideas, or it's a great way to get aha moments that you can pull in and turn it into whatever you need to. Just because Sherry has a way of doing things that is different than mine doesn't mean either one of them is right or wrong. It's just that the other one might not have even thought of it. And so it's like, oh, well, how can I incorporate that? Maybe I won't take all of that, but Sherry's got a good idea and Chelsea's got a good idea and Amy's got a good idea, and they're all slightly different, but how can I work those into my life in ways that work for me and therefore help my circle of influence? So yeah, I really like I'm not very good at diving in wholeheartedly, but when I do, it's like, oh yeah, why didn't I do that before? And it's a rough start, but geez, I can get some traction because I can hear and see and feel how other people are doing and go, oh yeah, let's incorporate some of that. So yeah.
Awesome. For sure. Fran?
I really like with valuing people, just listening to them. So, I'm sure everyone's had an experience where, you're talking to someone and they're not listening to you. They're just, waiting, but really listening to people. And personally, me with my own health situations, I felt like no one was listening to me. I went to, every specialist known to man, and it was just like I was just written off as someone who had anxiety. And I finally found my Lyme person that was like, I believe that something is wrong with you. So I think that can just, relate to any part of your life, is just someone actually listening to you and not, just writing you off as, either it's not important or whatever, but just truly listening to, when someone needs help, or, just someone wants to talk and share what their experience is. Because I think if people listen to you, then you have a lot more respect for them. And especially with leaders, like if you feel like your leader can listen to you, then you feel comfortable enough, and then it's going to make you better overall. But if they don't listen to you, you're not going to want to even listen to what they say. So
Yeah,
I like.
for sure.
And that's a beautiful lead in to the thoughts that I wanted to move us to about valuing the people around us and thinking about who are the most important people in your life. Just kind of thinking about that. You've probably all got a journal or notes that you're writing on while we do this, but thinking about that, and then write one thing they value most. And Fran just gave us this incredible example of valuing being heard. And so once you've written that down or thought about that for somebody in your life, then think about how well you relate to that value. Like, do you not relate to it very well? Like, I don't even think about it, it's a 1. Or, yeah, that really resonates with me. It just totally matters to me. It's a 5, like it's high. And then once you've kind of thought about that, I'd like you to then think about how you every day add value or connect to what they value. So, and if with Fran's permission, I'd like to just continue on with her example, because I think it's so good. So somebody in her life understands she values being, they too value being heard. So they resonate really high. That's a 5. That's amazing. And then they think about every day when they leave the house at 5 in the morning. The house is chaotic because it's really busy, and they don't really get a chance to connect or talk. And then they think about lunchtime when they're going for their run, or somebody else is doing something else. And then they think about evening when the kids need this activity and they need that activity. And they get to the end of the day and you look at your 16 hours of awake time and think about, how did I live out that value in the most important person in my life, or one of the most important people in my life, their value of being heard? How did I hear them today? So in that day, think about how you added value to them in alignment with their values. And this is an exercise he is in our book, and it's in the suggested things. And as I was going through it, and I know this, and I fail daily. So just to tell you, I fail daily. My husband values the early morning time. He values talking to me at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning. It's not when I'm at my best, like just not. So I will go days like, yeah, I'm up and I'm there and I hear you. I may not contribute a lot because my brain's not in gear yet, but I'm here. And then I go for a series of days when I've had a project that I'm really excited about and I'm working till 2 in the morning. I'm not there in the morning. And I need these kind of reminders to get me back on that track of remembering what the important people in my life value and how I can give value to them. So I'm talking long enough that you can think about this. And think about somebody. Yes, Stacy.
I think, like, for me, I read years ago the book, The 5 Love Languages. I don't know if anybody has read that, but there's the 5 basic love languages are words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, receiving gifts, and acts of service. And so I know each one of my kids' and my husband's love language And so by knowing those, I add value to them when I'm, showing them love in those areas. So for my husband, it's quality time, same as you, Sherry, right? It sounds like your husband's is too, right? Like he values that time, my husband too. He would love to sit on the deck, not as early, but he'd like to drink coffee. One, I don't drink coffee. Two, by 10 o'clock, when he wants to just rest on his days off, I'm busy, like I am doing my things, but sometimes I just need to schedule that time in and add value in that way. So I think if that's ever something that you've never thought about, the different love languages, that's a great way to think about how you can add values by pinpointing how each person that's close to you feels loved the most.
That's a fabulous example, Stacy. Yes. I think Amy's putting in the chat what those 5 love languages are, so we all remember. We can make notes.
The one you're missing is physical touch.
Mhm. Who else can think of somebody around them and what they value and how that plays into what you can offer that's of value?
I guess like our kids after school, like, how was your day? What did you learn? Do you remember what you learned? Like those things, like my son, as soon as he gets off the bus, before he gets off the bus, he waits for everybody to get off the bus, and then he gives me a hug and a kiss, and he says, "Have a good day, Mom." And I say it right back. And then as soon as he gets back onto the bus after school, he has to give me a hug, and he asks me how my day is. And I ask him how his day is. And it's been like that since kindergarten. And he's in grade 6. Yeah. So we definitely, just someone so young or small, or that's, you can really like learn from, I really value that, because I know maybe one day it might not might not happen again, because he'll be too cool to do it, but maybe secretly he'll still do it, maybe without his friends knowing. But I still do it with my girls too, and that my boyfriend doesn't get home till like maybe 9 o'clock at night, usually from work. So before I go to bed, I make sure, we say, "How was your day? What did you do?" Or, I always ask him what he worked on. He's a mechanic, but I have no clue what he's talking about. But yeah, really, sometimes you just need to kind of like put your, make sure, check in with everybody, make sure they're okay. And then it does, comes back to you in a way, right? So what you give out comes back.
Yeah, that's a great example. Daily habits that add up over time. Anyone else have thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Sharon.
No, I was just going to say that I think valuing others usually involves inconveniencing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a sucky, right? True. Yeah. That's all. Just observation. Yeah.
Just gonna drop a little bomb on us and then move along. No, I totally agree, and I see that too, right? What I was gonna say was on page 48, there's a nugget there that we cannot negate. And I really think that in, not just in the way of business, but we can use that as a really good example. Number two, we add value to others when we make ourselves more valuable to others. So the first sentence, the end of the first sentence, the whole idea of adding value to other people depends on the idea that you have something of value to add. And we can pull in the imposter syndrome with all of this as well. Imposter syndrome is one of those things that comes up often in our business, because just so you guys know, just because you hit the rank of where you want to be, or you have a bigger team, or you have sponsored one person, or it doesn't even matter what level you are at, you may deal with the feelings of, oh yeah, but I don't really. Oh yeah, but I, and I remember doing the other company that I was with for years and years and years. One of our top earners, when somebody, it was a candle company, when somebody would ask her what she did, she's like, oh, I just peddle candles. Well, except she was earning a couple $100,000 a year peddling candles, right? So we know that in a leadership structure, that's not all she did, right? She led well, right? But that was her comment was, I peddle candles, right? Instead of, stepping into what she actually did and valuing her piece in it. And then when you realize the value that you have to give to other people, like, how can I say this in the right way? Devaluing yourself does a massive disservice to the people who follow you. So if you don't sit there and go, I am, like, I love Christy Jex. Christy Jex is one of the diamonds and plexus. And she goes, I'm a gosh dang professional, right? And you are a gosh dang professional. If you've decided that you're going to be a professional and you are acting professionally and you are leading and doing a business, you are a professional. This is part of your profession. And so nobody else gets to give you permission to step into this, like, owning your value. That's you. And until you do that, until you stop the imposter syndrome of, oh yeah, but I don't really do this. Oh yeah, but I'm this, but I'm not really that. Or I don't feel worthy enough to be recognized as this level, right? Can I tell you what happens to Jules too? I've heard from a ton of them. Oh yeah, I'm a diamond, but I'm not a holding diamond. I'm about 500 points below. Can you imagine? No. You are a diamond. Like, the rest of us are sitting here with our mouths hanging open going, gosh, what would that be like? Man, huh? And yet you still have imposter syndrome issues? What the heck, right? It doesn't, there's no level. That can happen at silver. It can happen before you're even a silver, right? And it will hold you and your team back. Amy.
That was a beautiful reminder. I had actually just read a write-up about using the word just and only. I'm only a mom. Really? Because there's a lot of people who would love to be. I'm just a part-time network marketer. Really? Because there's some people working there tush off to be full-time. And your comment about you devalue others and you devalue yourself it is not humbling, and it is not a way to show respect to anyone.
No,
And it's something that originally, as I've read different things, exposure to it, humbling is how I would have classified how many people, oh, I just sew a little. Oh, wow. Like, that's just a little that I'm not telling you what I do. And that also adds that comparison because those words have compared to something. In our culture now, it's used like using the word busy. It's cute, fun, a great excuse to get out of things.
Yeah, I love that, Amy. Fantastic. You've sparked a fire. Look at this, Stacy.
Yeah, I think I can really relate to that a lot, because even now I'm trying to get to the Ruby rank, but I still constantly am saying, but I'm not a good leader. I don't feel qualified to lead these people. I feel like I have girls below me that are amazing leaders, and I feel underqualified. Like, I feel like, how can I lead you? You're such a good leader. Like, I feel, and now this last week we branched into Mexico, and I've got all these like Mexican chats with like Spanish going on. And I'm like, like I'm not qualified to do this, but I had to take a step back. Okay, it's out of my comfort zone, but there's things I can do to still add value. There's things that I can do, even though Spanish is not my first language and I don't speak it at all. There's apps to translate so that I do understand. There's, I don't know. I could really relate, Janelle, to what you were saying, just feeling like you're not adding value by devaluing yourself. And that's what I feel like I do all the time. I devalue where I am, and that's not adding value to my team. So, yeah.
And your leaders are probably looking at you going, gosh, she's just so amazing. Oh, I just really need to level up so that I can be like Stacy. Man, she does this so well, and she does this. So I'm going to, right? Like, you have inspired a movement, right? So sitting in that, and I was gonna hold on to this, but it just totally feeds into it. What Amy said about humility, and this was a conversation that I'd had this week about humility. We love that word. Like, I want to be humble, right? Nobody wants to be braggy or excessive in their or inflating thoughts of themselves and having that come off as a repulsion to other people, right? But I think we take this too far. I think we totally take this too far, because the conversation or what Amy was saying, like, I sew a little, right? And how that makes other people feel about themselves if they're looking at you going, oh yeah, I don't really do that terribly well. And then they put their own capacity underneath that. Maybe they were feeling, do you know what I mean? Like, we can't insulate everyone against negative thoughts about themselves, but we need to stop calling it humility, because it's not. It's a falsehood, and it totally is. So Stacy, I love that you caught that. I love that you caught that whole thing. And you know what it reminded me of is God does not call the qualified, but he qualifies the called, right? And who knows what this whole Spanish thing could actually be. Remember that this is simply the vehicle to get you somewhere, right? Like, I'm not talking plexus, I'm talking beyond, right? You never know. So thank you so much for sharing that. Carrie.
I was just thinking as we're talking here, I've recently applied for a job, right? So I had to write a resume when I was 41 years old. So I think everyone before plexus should look at their resume and how they define themselves. And for me, it's been 4 years of personal growth and growing alongside you women. There's no men here, alongside the women. So looking at that resume and looking at what I put out now, night and day difference. And I'm humble. I'm not like an egomaniac in most areas, but the confidence that I came into those interviews was just very interesting to me to observe, right? Like, my first resume, for example, I'm good with people. Okay, like, you butter up your resume when you're looking for jobs, right? When you have no life experience, you really try to sell it. Now it's like, no, I inspire other people to more confidence in themselves, and like, not even a breath. Like, Carrie, how would you handle this? Well, let me tell you, because A, B, C, D, and I could do that. I found it rather interesting what personal growth
measuring personal growth, right? Because those are telltale things of how you sell yourself for a job. And I didn't have to sell. I was just saying what I do, dishing out my experience, and it was very entertaining for me. So anyway, check your resumes and go look at how you would rewrite it, because it's amusing.
That's fantastic. Then I'm sitting here thinking, when was the last time I wrote a resume? It was
Right?
probably like
Yeah.
17 years ago, 18 years ago. That's so true. And you know what? How you did it did not, like you said, I'm not an egomaniac. No, you were just saying what you do well. Humility is not what we own, or like it's, I think we define humility in wrong ways, but it's not typically something we actually think about. It's just, it's that, not psychosomatic, but like subconscious evaluation, right? Like the conversation I was having this week, oh, I don't want to be somebody who, needs to buy really expensive clothes, or, that we have really expensive purses or whatever. And it was about clothing. And I'm like, okay, so let's talk about this for a second. Did the more expensive pair of pants fit you better? This was with my husband. Did the more expensive pair of pants fit you better than the like $30, $40 pair of pants that you were wearing? Well, yeah. I'm like, well, doesn't it stand to reason that you would pay more for somebody who takes more time and effort in like putting like different seams into the pants and different, like, whatever. They were not exorbitantly expensive. They were $130. But I don't need to have pants that are $130. I think everybody should have things that fit well. I'm like, yeah, but I think that we should also pay for craftsmanship. Like your humility doesn't hinge on the price of your pants. Like you don't have gold plated pants. Like we're not off the deep end. You're simply buying something that fits you. You have the money to do it, and you're choosing to invest in a piece of clothing that works for you instead of being uncomfortable in. Your humility doesn't reside in your pants brand. Anyway, it was an interesting conversation that I'm giving you like a 16th of, but it was a conversation this week, and it was all about, but I want to be humble. You're like, well, then just be it. Go ahead,
Can I
Carrie.
piggyback on that just a smidge?
Mm-hmm.
I think how we define being humble, that matters, but it's also how others interpret that and speak into that, because we've been told when we came into ministry, we left our business we owned and operated, right? For that business, my husband needed a work truck, a reliable vehicle. So we had just bought a brand new truck, which was a tax write-off, right, Amy? There's choices you make in a business that are a lot different than what you make in a ministry serving role. It has been said to us that, wow, that's a pretty nice truck for a pastor to drive. Okay, that's a you issue for one thing. That's a you issue, because would my husband be any more a man of God if he was driving an old beater that he had to pray would start every time he hopped in it? No, but that's the mentality, and that's what I think we struggle to reconcile our humility with, is outside views and outside perceptions, right? Even if we're trying to work on that ourselves, that outside chatter can really affect how we view our truth and our humility.
Completely. And I'm just going to, before I call on Cody, the other example that we were talking about was if you think of, especially those of us who have been to convention and have actually conversed with and stood shoulder to shoulder with some of these amazing people in Plexus who are so humble and so kind and so generous, and they're just so genuine. And do you think that it dethrones their humility by the brand of purse that they carry, or the fact that they have their nails done, or the clothes that they wear, or whatever? No. Somebody being humble is when you meet somebody and you are like, oh my gosh, you are the most down-to-earth person. Why would you remember my name? You remember who I am? Why? Why do you remember? Celeste Gwynn looked at me when I was a gold ambassador. She's like, I know you. And I'm like, no, you don't. She's like, yeah, I do. And when I was talking to my business coach about it, he goes, she doesn't forget people. So if she's ever seen you, like on a call or on whatever, he's like, she'll know who you are. And I'm like, that is humility. If a person was sitting from a judgment seat and looking at the woman going, you cannot be a humble person. You have zebras in your front yard and you shop at Gucci and whatever. And you just think, okay, but hold on a second. That doesn't determine your humility. You need to speak to the person because you have no idea what she does with her time, with her money, with her energy, with her thoughts, with her prayers. Like you have no clue, right? So I love that, Carrie. That's a you problem and not a me problem. Cody.
Yeah, I've found myself over the last few months, I guess, definitely getting to negating myself. So I posted about, getting to do the Bobby Flay thing, and that was really awesome. Don't get me wrong. And I'm like, so one of the guys from work comes up to me and says, oh, that's really, really cool. How did you get to do that? And what do I say? I'm like, oh, well, I won. It was one thing I won because I sold some stuff. And he kind of just walked away. And I'm like, wow, that was really dumb. But it was but it was also weird because I'm a leader at work. People come to me and say, how do you do this? Or what do we need to do today? Or, and I find that because I'm feel uncomfortable and not sure of my footing in my place doing plexus, that I can't take that same space that I'm at work because I've been doing it for 100 years and I don't even really think about it that much anymore, of how do I take that skill set and put it into what I'm doing with plexus per se. And I find, even Rudy and I have a lot of knowledge about vitamins in general because we've been doing vitamins since time began in all sorts of ways. So another fellow came up to me and said, my wife's pregnant and we want to I think I should start taking some vitamins too. And, there's these prenatal vitamins that she's taking, and can you give me some pointers? And I'm like, yeah, well, sure. You gotta, get your magnesium up, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc. Let's start there, put some B complex in there, and don't buy Jameson. Whatever you do, don't buy Jameson. and just some general, really big paintbrush things. And then I say, as a caveat, I want you to know that I sell plexus. So I'm going to tell you that plexus is a good thing. But you need to know that I sell it so that, I'm not, making you take something simply because I'm selling it. I'm just telling you that it's one of the other names that I would add into the good section, not the bad section. And so it was like, yeah, okay, thanks. I'm like, and if you want any more information, just let me know. And off he goes. And I'm like, again, a while later, after I get out of doing what I'm doing at work, I'm like, again, I did that. Okay, bye. I just watching myself, that third party looking at yourself thing is like, you did it again. Like, how is it you did it again? It was only a couple of days ago.
But you recognized it. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, you saw what happened. And you may even get to a third time where you're like, it's falling out of my mouth and I can't stop it. Why? Right. And it's like, we have to learn by doing. It's the same thing as messaging people, right? People want the right things to say, like, so that they can magically message all the people, all the right things to say. Guess how you find the right things? By saying the wrong ones. Going, well, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, exactly. And so I find myself, catching myself, but it's definitely a thing that either you step in or you step out, right? And, I find myself teetering on the stepping in or stepping out just simply because I'm learning. But it's definitely a kick in the pants when you go, oh, I just did that again. These people come to me because clearly they know that I know some stuff. So why do I keep downplaying what I know? And if I don't know, they know that I will go find out.
I was going to say, I bet you could go back to that person and be like, I just need to take a minute and tell you that I kind of stepped in it when you asked me, because I don't value what I know. So I'm going to try this again. I'm going to tell you, if I had my way, what you would do here. And this is honestly black and white, because I don't take this because I sell it. I share this because I love it. And I know you will love it too. And this is the best for you. I'm not BSing you. You know me. Like, this is the best for you. Like you said, don't take Jameson. Just as emphatically as you're saying, don't take Jameson, you're going to be like, take the Plexus for Pete's sake. Right?
Yeah.
Because you want the B12 and the aloe and the absorbable, like, you could go into it, right? But you could totally revisit that and save it and make yourself feel like you came around to, hey, I see value in myself. You've already said you see value in me. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong with the value you see in me. In fact, I'm going to affirm the value that you've seen in me. And I'm going to give you what you asked for, because Cody, what he asked for was the value he sees in you. He didn't come to you for a meatloaf recipe. He came, which maybe you got a really good one.
Oh no.
But he came to you for supplements, right? Don't give him meatloaf.
And I think that's really, really, really key. When we're valuing ourselves, other people value us. They're coming to us because they value to give them. And if we choose not to give that to them by being humble, we are taking away from what we have to offer. We are really, really, and your awareness, Cody, I love it. And I see it on all the faces on this screen, including the one looking back at me. Because we are taking away, we are stealing from those people what God gave us to give, what He has nurtured in us, what He has offered us.
I think Cody's rocking it, because in the beginning, I would say I'm a drug dealer. Ha 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 ha, awkward and walk away. Epic fail. Funny, epic fail. I really devalued what I had and what I could share.
Hey, my teenager
I think
says
you're
that
wrong.
about me too. Yeah, Sharon.
I think it's the thing too. It's the, once you become aware of it, you need to stop waiting for permission from others, right? To show some value for it. Because I mean, honestly, like network marketing, most people don't value that. They don't even think it's a real career, right? They don't. They have no idea what you do, right? That's just the reality. Sucks, but it's true. Until you meet someone that actually does it, and then your eyes get opened and you're like, oh my goodness, like this is a for real thing. Because it's even me, like when I started 3 years ago or whatever, when I started Plexus, I'm not a stupid person. I'm not a sheltered person. I did not know that this existed as a career. I had no idea that people were for real doing it. I didn't know, right? So it's, and then you kind of get into that world and you're like, oh my goodness, there's like professionals all over that are doing this and like the top of each of their companies where they're doing this, they're running with it, they're businesswomen, they're whatever, right? Yeah, it's for me, I know for me, something I've always struggled with is I wait for permission from other people to give myself value in what I do. Right. And it doesn't matter if I was doing this or when I was like, I'm just a nanny. No, I was not just a nanny. Let me tell you, I was a professional nanny. I worked all over the world. I was earning more than an elementary school teacher earned, and I was running the show. Right. That is not just a nanny.
And I would
Right,
counter if you asked your charges, your kids that you were nannying, if you were just a nanny now, they would tell you how you vastly impacted their lives. And you know that because you shared.
Yeah, no, and I know that. And it's and that I worked for too didn't think that. Like they were hiring a professional, they were hiring a career that doesn't even exist in North America. If you're going to go to some European countries, it does. Right. And they kind of knew, right? But it was something that doesn't even exist here. And, you know, I can remember like my aunt and whoever sitting me down and being like, what are you doing with your life? And I'm not saying anything, but I'm sitting there thinking I'm earning twice as much as your daughter. Right? What am I doing with my life? I went like, this is what I'm doing with my life. I went to school, but just constantly devaluing, right? Because I'm waiting for other people to come along and give me permission to say there's value in what you do. And it's even with this, like Cody's response, that would be typical to me. Do I have a wealth of knowledge? Oh yeah, right? Because this is not, I didn't just start gaining that with Plexus, right? But devaluing what I do because I'm waiting for them to take what I do seriously. And it needs to be the other way around. They're going to take what I do seriously. Yeah, when I take myself seriously, I don't know. Yeah, just thoughts, right? Because I think it transfers to other things too, right? Or I'm just a mom, right? What do you do with homeschooling? Oh, you know, just some stuff. I've just taught her how to read and stuff. It's not what we've done, right?
So much.
Yeah, so I know, problem. Yeah.
I think it would do everyone a huge, how do I say that? I think it would be really good for everyone to ask themselves a question today and do some journaling. This is totally off because I knew when I read this, I'm like, there's where we're going to camp at. That's that whole like nucleus of the entire call. Because I see it all the time from my position. I see it in our team. I see different places where people don't value themselves and then they get stuck because of their lack of value, which you figure like how hard you can work to sponsor people. How hard you can work to sponsor people if only you valued yourself and that was the only key. It's like when somebody's like, oh, the products don't work. And you're like, but are you drinking all your water? No, I'm not. And you're like, literally everything you're waiting for is on the other side of just 3 more glasses of water. Seriously. So the question that I'm posing is, what do you devalue in yourself in respect to your business? If you look at how you run your business, what are you telling yourself that you are not enough for? And I mean, there's growth, right? Like there are things like, because I looked at, for example, you know, our law of navigation, I'm like, ooh, this is one that I need to get better at, right? But I'm not like crapping on myself because I'm not a rock star at the law of navigation because no, but I'm going to get better. I'm saying like, what do I diminish in my realm of influence with people? Because that very thing you diminish might be the missing piece to your success.
I think that's an incredible place to close our thoughts for today. Everybody's got the question written down, right? Because we're going to come back to that at the beginning of our next session. We're going to ask what kind of growth you were able to find in yourself by thinking about and becoming aware of what you diminish in yourself, and therefore that missing piece of what you offer.
Awesome. I'm excited, guys. This is the good stuff. This is the good work right here. This is like the meat and potatoes of all the things. I'm so excited. And we'll be praying for you guys legitimately this week, because this is a hard thing to dip your toes into. And I'm so proud of you for even considering getting into this. Right? Carrie, I thought about that too. Write your resume. I tell people I have no marketable skills because it's funny. No, it's funny because, and then I laugh. I'm like, no. Right? Because people think I'm joking. Like I have no paper education. Does that mean that I don't actually have any marketable skills? No, it doesn't. But my resume would need to be like 7 pages long. I'll tell you all the things that I can do. Just let me. I know righty tighty, lefty loosey. And sometimes I don't even need to say it when I'm turning the faucet. Anyway, yeah, like mic drop. That's it. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for this, Sherry. Thank you. Wonderful. I can't wait to see you guys back next week. Put a plug in. Sherry's team is running a huge, amazing event at the end of the month on the
25th, September 25th. Yeah, we need
We
need registrations in by the 15th. If you're coming in person for food planning, all the things.
And Nolan is coming. So if you want, like we have our token man is going to be there. There'll be one. So you can invite other people who are also men and say, I know there's at least one that's going to be there. Awesome. In Watrous.
Locker rooms is reserved till, well, today. You need to make your reservation today. They probably still have rooms, but today was the block. So.
And it's under your name, right?
Yeah, my name, Plexus. Yeah.
Fran, we need a gigantic picture cutout of you, please. Like what I got for convention, so that we could just put you in our events so that we can take pictures with you and all of those things.
I actually have 2 giant cutouts in my basement. I have a Chevy Chase and a Darth Vader. I could just, use one of those and put my picture on the face.
That would be fantastic. I think that would be fantastic. All right, guys, have a wonderful Saturday wherever you find yourself, and know that we see immense value in each of you. Have a great day, guys. Bye.